all hear me, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you can't, well, there's seats up here in the front, just like there usually is in church. Well, thank you for coming and with your interest and your input, your comments as to this project that we're planning to do. The project called Pave the Way has a few primary goals. The first is to address some major necessary repairs and maintenance things, some of which have been long overdue, just to keep our facility viable and functional. The second is, while we're at it, make this facility a bit more welcoming to visitors and newcomers, as well as easier to navigate. Many of you have been members for a long time, so you know where everything is, but I bet you if we sat down, we could probably stump you on the location of some rooms in the church. But to improve the signage so people can find their way around, even find their way to the right door to come into the church. A big part of this is going to be taking care of the Circle Drive right out here, which I'll show you a couple of pictures of those of you who don't often go there. While we're at it, as you know, that's where we have our summer outdoor worship, is right out there. And so while we're tearing everything up, we want to see what else can we do to make that space more conducive to outdoor worship. I'll talk a bit more about all of these later. And then, as always, when we do a major project here, a key part is working with one of our partners and supporting them. And for this project, the Hope Center has been selected as our partner. And what we intend to do is tithe 10% of what we get to provide to the Hope Center. And as you know, they have their own big project going on, moving into a new building. We heard about that a few weeks ago. So let's talk about a bit more about what's in the different phases of the project. First is painting and repairing the exterior of the church. Now that part, already done. It was done last spring. It just couldn't wait any longer. And council authorized spending the funds to repaint the exterior and patch holes in the eaves. I'll show you a picture. It was getting to be pretty in pretty rough shape. The second and largest phase of this project is reconstructing the Circle Drive, adding some new outdoor signs and indoor signage so people can find their way into the church, and once they're inside, find their way around. And then finally, refresh the narthex to make that a more useful gathering space. It's used not only on Sundays, as many of you were enjoying coffee out there, but every day during the week, that space gets used. And so we want to make it a bit more functional for all the purposes that space serves for us. First, the first phase is already done, painting and fixing the exterior. Here's some photos. Hopefully you can see, but there's some before and after. Like right here, that really is a hole in the, There really is a hole in the eave. I'm not sure how many critters got in and out of there. I suppose if we had a belfry, we'd have bats in it right now, because that would have been a great place for them to get inside. That's been repaired, and over on the right, you can see where the paint, the paint really was peeling right off the side. It had been quite a while since it had a coat of paint. So that's all done. That was done last spring. Total cost of that project was $28,000. Now what the council has done is they, anticipating this project, they had authorized spending money on the general fund to pay for that, but it's kind of a loan to the Pave the Way fund. So when we get funding from the fundraising effort we're engaging in now, we'll repay back the general fund. So that $28,000 will go back into the general fund. Next phase is reconstructing the Circle Drive. And if you've seen this great video I don't have the video in here, but that Jude Peters put together riding his bike, you can see there's a big pothole, which you can actually probably see from right here. If you look, it's big enough, you don't need to be right on top. And much of that whole Circle Drive is crumbling. The edges, for those of you who attend outdoor worship in the summer and sit out there, you know firsthand what rough shape that's in. This has been a project we've been talking about doing, I don't know, 10, 15 years, maybe more, a long time. And so we're really excited to finally be able to address that and repair, do all that repair. That part of the project has 4 elements. One is the biggest piece, which is tearing up the circle drive. They're going to crumble the existing blacktop and then use that as a new base underneath the new driveway, and then put 2 layers of blacktop on top. So it'll be very nice. It also includes sealing the cracks in all the rest of the parking lot and restriping it. So we're not replacing that. That'd probably add another $1 million or something to the project. We're not there. Someday we will need to, but not today. So we're fortunate there. But we will seal the cracks so it prolongs the life of the rest of the parking lot and then restripe it. We're also going to replace the lights out here, which were a surprise to me. I've been a member here over 30 years. I didn't know we were leasing those lights from We Energies. So we're going to give We Energies their lights back, and we're going to put up our own lights. It'll be LED lights, it'll be very energy efficient, and it'll enhance the overall lighting in the space. And then there'll be a patio area. Now we're not talking a patio with umbrellas and a tiki bar or anything out there, but it will be a space with some chairs, some tables, so that if the weather's nice, you want to have a Bible study outside. On Sundays in the summer when we're doing worship out there, it'll make more seating area that's comfortable for outdoor worship seating and the like. So it won't be a paved patio, but we will arrange the landscaping and make that a bit more nice and usable. And last, we want to enhance that worship space. So while we've got everything tore up, we want to run some conduit out to the berm in the middle of the circle drive. So the thinking is we can run some speaker wires out there, put some speakers out there for worship, so that we can bring the overall volume of worship down, but everybody will be able to hear better. Right now, if you're sitting in the front row, you get blasted by the speakers, and if you're sitting in the back, you can barely hear. So we want to add a few more while we're at it and make that a lot more conducive to worship. Okay. Just a couple pictures to show you this part of the project. This is the Google Earth view of church. The circle drive is up here on the top. This is the part that's going to get tore up and replaced. And then all the rest of this will be, the cracks will be sealed. Not the whole thing will be sealed, but the cracks will and restriped. This gives you an idea of zoomed in on that circle drive where the lights will be. Those semicircles indicate the patterns of the lights that will be there. There'll be 4 poles, 5 lights. One of the poles will have lights aiming in both directions. The next phase is to enhance the outdoor signs. Right now we've got a really attractive sign, but you can only read it coming from the north if you're coming down Barker. If you're coming from the south of Barker, you might not even recognize this as a church. If you happen to see the cross, that's great, that's a clue. But we want to put signs that can be read from both ways, and actually we'll have, current thinking is 3 signs. One main one out here on Barker, one at the main entrance to the parking lot, and the third one down in this corner.
Third one potentially will be by the front doors.
Up here.
The
primary
other one. Right. So the logic is kind of that
The main front door.
Yeah.
Not George's front door. George, you're the only keeper of that door.
50 years.
The non-George door.
So he's going to be a greeter then at that door. Awesome.
Thank you, Mary. The logic behind those signs and the placement are to give that new member or that visitor that comes kind of that breadcrumb trail as you turn. Because every time I come in here, I start to think and see of where these signs would be. So obviously you catch the one in the Barker, you turn, the next one would be on the corner of Linden and Davidson. So obviously it would have the same look and feel on a smaller scale, so you know you're in the right place. You turn into the parking lot, and then you see the third one by the doors, so then that individual knows, hey, I followed the trail, I'm in the right location.
Do they have to get new permits for those?
We will. We will work with the town appropriately.
Which is a great point. Now, when we started this, we were really hoping that the sign we put out here in Barker could be an electronic sign that we could change, but current interpretation of the town of Brookfield laws or regulations, zoning, we're zone institutional, does not permit that. Now, I know you're going to tell me get a life, Gary, but I was reading through those stupid things yesterday, and I don't know if we can find a loophole there or not, but right now we've requested and it's been denied. And so we're still trying to figure out a way, if there is a way we can get approved, but I will tell you, we've learned that Elmbrook Church tried to get an electronic sign and they were denied. So now we're a lot nicer than they are. But I just want expectations to, we're not optimistic, but we're still trying to find a way to get that done. And then indoor signage, so that when you walk, because a lot of people, they walk from, is that George's door over here, or is the other door George's?
George's,
The
the
main
original entrance.
A lot of people, they walk from this door into the sanctuary and out, they never go anywhere else, right? We'd like to help them find the other good spaces here where they're looking for Bible studies, or they're looking for the library, or they're trying to find the coffee, which we're going to make that easier. I'll get to that in a minute. So we'd like to put some signs inside the building that'll make it easier for people to find their way around. That's a test here. How many people know where the Paul room is?
What?
Paul room is. 1, 2. Now we got about 6 or 8. Not even half of you. It's one of the classrooms downstairs. Now you might have guessed it was a classroom and just not knowing which one it was. But that's the idea. We want a lot of people have never been down there to find what a nice space that is. And by the way, the bathrooms down there are a lot bigger and nicer than the ones up here.
Does anybody know where our elevator is?
Probably not. Yeah, that's a good point. So we want to enhance the signage. Was there a question back here? Did you have a question?
I was saying, make sure the restrooms are clear.
Yeah.
There was a large room, people came in there, they thought this one was the only one. Sure.
Big line outside.
Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest facilities are actually downstairs. So
The signage will be exterior and interior.
mhm.
There's been a lot of homework done. I've been in a lot of churches the last 2 months, so a lot of wayfinding and a lot of research.
And then the next phase of the project is to look at this narthex space out here. That furniture that's out there, it's comfortable still, believe it or not, but I think it's almost 20 years old. It might be, I'm not sure when we bought it, but it might have been when we put the addition on. It's getting old, and there really isn't very much of it, right? There's just a handful of chairs. So these are some concepts. This is not the final idea, but you get the idea. We want to add more seating, make it more comfortable for people to gather in, add some stand-up tables out here. So when you got one hand with a donut and one hand with a coffee and you want to shake hands, you can put your coffee down, okay? And speaking of coffee, we intend to make a hospitality station out here. So where the information desk is right now, that space there, we put a coffee or hospitality station, we call it, where we'd have carafes of coffee, hot water, donuts, of course, out there on that. So, because a lot of people don't know to come in here to get coffee, but if it's right out there, they're more likely to get the coffee and the donuts and hang around a little bit longer, right? So we get to know each other better. Now that's not to say we're still going to be using this space for larger gatherings, but the Sunday morning coffee will be out there. Okay? And then, as I mentioned, a key part of this is supporting the Hope Center. They've got their own big project going on where they're moving into a new building. We heard a lot about that 3 weeks ago, I think it was, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's going to be a beautiful space, very greatly enhance their ministry. We have been longtime partners with the Hope Center, and so we want to continue to be that way, and so 10% goes to that. Now, there is a question on this, which can be determined next Sunday at the congregational meeting. Is it 10% of project cost or 10% of gifts given? That's, affects the math a little bit. I don't know, you'll see on the slide here, right now it says 10% of project costs, but it's really up for discussion and for you folks to decide really next week. Okay? So if we look at the whole project, this is the way it breaks down. We've got the first phase of the project, which was painting and fixing the exterior, which cost $28,000. That's done, that's an actual cost, so that's money already spent. Reconstructing the Circle Drive, which includes the lights and enhancing the space. It does not include the hot tub that Pastor Brian wanted to have on the patio, but you know, he's not even here for my abuse. But that's the biggest project, biggest piece of the project, and that costs $150,000. By the way, that's backed up with a bunch of quotes. I think we have 4 quotes on the paving and 3 quotes on the lighting, which are the biggest pieces. So we've had a lot of people been working aggressively to get some reality behind these numbers. So these aren't just pulled out of the air. There's a lot of quotation to back this up. Outdoor signage, that's for 3 exterior signs and the interior signs, total of $60,000. Updating the narthex is what we had initially as an estimate is $20,000. I will tell you, as we got some pricing in on furniture, that number might be a little low. Got a little sticker shock on commercial grade chairs. It's not like going to IKEA, you know. So that number will probably be a bit higher than that. Don't know exactly. We're still getting information and working through the concepts as to what that
Coffee bar included in that?
it's intended to be, but that was kind of a late addition to our thinking, our concepts. And so that's another reason that might be a little low, even though it's expected we'll have some St. John's labor actually build it. And you could probably guess who that is. So that adds up to the total of $258,000. Right now, this is showing us 10% of the cost would go to the Hope Center, but perhaps it's 10% of monies raised. Again, that could be discussed at next week's congregational meeting, that detail. So a grand total of $283,000. So we've set an initial fundraising goal of $300,000, rounding up to take, so we have a little extra, especially since we suspect one of those numbers is probably a bit low. Now the good news is, well, the Pave the Way campaign officially starts next Sunday. That presumes a favorable vote next Sunday at the congregational meeting. So hopefully you all show up and vote yes. The good news is that we've had a number of early gifts already pledged from individuals who've been involved in discussing the project, as well as a number of the different groups like the council, property committee, Pave the Way committee, interiors committee. A number of people have already pledged towards this, and I'm really excited to tell you we're 40% of the way there already. Okay, as of Friday so far, we've had $120,000 pledged out of the 300. So as you can tell, there's strong support for this, especially from many of the people that have been involved in defining it, which is exciting because they're not just saying, hey, I want to spend your money, they're putting their money into it as well. So very excited about that. And then, as was mentioned several times over the last month, next Sunday, as Pastor Brian said, it's kind of like Rally Day 2.0 this year. After the outdoor worship, and hopefully the weather's as beautiful as it is today.
Indoor.
Huh?
Indoor worship.
Oh, the meeting, oh, it's indoor?
Second service is indoor.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. After the second service, indoors.
Sorry, I thought I heard outdoor.
Maybe.
My left ear's my bad one, sorry.
And I don't know if we're having the meeting inside or outside, but
Indoors.
meeting will be indoors. The picnic will be outdoors, weather permitting.
Correct. Yeah.
With a tent. Oh, there we go.
Both services are indoors, meetings indoor because we have the large projection that has, so we'll utilize some of these same slides.
Probably all of the same. I'm not making any slides.
We have to talk, I'm kidding. So we'll use many of the same slides so that all the new individuals that were not able to attend can see them. It's a big, large monitor and big, large image, so we can all be on the same page. And then obviously the biggest thing is to get a motion before the council to approve and spend, you know, the $300,000 to fund this wonderful Pave the Way campaign.
So, questions, suggestions, ideas, George?
Is there going to be a one-thing vote, either up or down? Or you're not-
That's what's anticipated.
You're not splitting anything out or anything,
No.
If it's voted down, then we'll just split things out.
Well, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Right now, it's being presented as a package deal.
Correct.
So the vote will be on the whole package.
Yes.
The entire package.
Yeah, and next, the special congregational meeting, that's the only item on the agenda, just to be, you know, got to get all the legalities out of the way. That's one item, and that's to vote up or down on this project. Any other questions or input or concepts? We've been getting, as we've been meeting with people over the last weeks, we've been getting, every discussion we've been in, we've been getting good suggestions and input. So thank you to as many of you for your ideas. Barb?
But do you not move forward until you made your goal, or how is that going to work?
That's a great question. Do you want to take that one? You're the council president.
Yeah, exactly. As everyone knows, we have moved forward with some projects because we have deemed them absolutely necessary, such as the painting. Gary alluded that the circle drive, I think we can all pretty much understand that's top priority. And then from there, we'll prioritize what's next. I can tell you the goal, even this fall, is to fix the remaining or existing parking lot. If you drive around in there, there's some cracks that are about 1 to 2 inches. Unfortunately, there was some weeds that grew up there this summer. I had my children pulling those out and they cursed my name. But as you know, the winter ice and snow get in there. It's just going to completely expand and blow those out, and that's going to deteriorate that faster. So very similar to the exterior painting, we are going to fix all those cracks this fall. The necessity things will be priority. Yes.
And what we're asking from the,
There's a hole.
To fix the hole, if you move up, which is what we mean directly, the
Yeah.
side driveway, if you park on there and you come walking into the church,
Yeah.
along the curb, there's a hole. So if it's wet or if it's snowy and you don't see the hole.
Let's talk afterwards. I'm not sure where this hole is. I know where the pothole is, but I don't think we're talking about the same hole. But let's talk.
what we're kicking off next week officially is a pledge drive. So we'll be looking for people to pledge to the project. The request is the pledges are paid between this year and next year. So to your question, Barb, we may have pledges that cover the full amount, but you know, by the end of this year, it's unlikely we'll have received all the pledges because we're giving people the opportunity to pay some this year and some next year. So as the money comes in, we'll work through priority order. The top one, as Brian mentioned, is a circle drive. Now, what's been negotiated with the contractor we haven't signed anything yet because we don't have authority yet, but what's been negotiated with Poblocki, which is currently the lead candidate for doing the paving, is if we sign a contract with them this fall, they can do the work next summer, the heavy work. They may do some of the work this fall, but the rest in the summer, but hold the pricing. And as we all know, inflation is kind of a big deal right now, and so being able to lock in pricing this fall is very important. So the other pieces will be prioritized as funding is available. And then as far as, I know Jennifer had asked, when do we pay the Hope Center? The details of that haven't been worked out. I think there's some general thinking that we would, pay portion over time. I don't think the intent is to hold it all until the end, but the details of how that gets scheduled has not yet been worked out. I think we want to see first how fast the money comes in, and then we can balance the contributions to them against paying for the project. Is that right?
I would say that's spot on. It's probably going to be a stagger or a stepping release of those funds.
Steve?
Both the church and Hope Center are deductible donations from your RMD. So, if people have the opportunity, they might want to do something directly to the Hope Center.
Okay. I see what you're saying. We could sort of count it towards the project, but they can give directly to the Hope Center, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Just let us know so that we can do the accounting right. So if, like, say you choose to give, some money directly to the Hope Center, but really for this project, let us know so we can already count that as part of the tithe given. And looking around at the few folks, there are a few of you, not yet me, but I'm getting close. We're at the RMD age. So for those of you that are required to, that have it required minimum distribution, direct contribution means you avoid all the taxes. Great point, thank you. Yes?
What happens when you raise more money than 300,000?
We're gonna have a big party. No. That's a great question, and I'm really optimistic that we're gonna have that issue to deal with. It's not a problem, it's just an issue. It hasn't been determined yet. That maybe could be specified during the vote next week, perhaps. A couple ideas have been kicked around. Maybe the money goes into the capital improvement fund. Maybe it goes into some other. Maybe it goes into a fund for future capital enhancements. Not yet been determined. But given we're already 40% of the way there, I have to be optimistic that we will have that pleasant challenge or issue to deal with. Did you want to add to that? Do you have it?
Yeah, I can add a little bit to that. While it's not as scary as that determined, we as a council and primarily the property team know that we're dealing with an aging church. The building, not our people. You guys are forever young. That sanctuary is 23 years old. And when I have people come in here, when I sit in with property and sit in with some of this technology and some of the other things, they're always amazed on how we have equipment that has lasted longer than its life expectancy because of the diligent work of our property team. But it's not going to last forever. So we know that we're going to have expenses, whether it's 5 years from now, 7, 10, whatever that number is, that we got to be cognitive of so that we don't have to have. I'll have a picnic every year if you want. I love picnics, but I don't know if we want to have a capital campaign. So we can use those monies for those future expenses that we're probably going to foresee. And property doesn't quite know it yet, but we'll have a meeting next Tuesday to start putting that roadmap together. And even some of that work has already been done. When we had the wonderful group of Growth Design here, part of that great package that they did was to do a huge assessment of all of our mechanicals, electrical, and our plumbing. So we already have a threshold or a baseline of what our life expectancy of all those items are. But we know that some of those are going to be coming to their life end in the near future.
You mentioned growth design. I remind you to just set this in the context of growth design. Many of you will remember that effort about 3 or 4 years ago. That time gloriously known as before COVID. And we were moving along, and we've got this long-term plan for our facility. That's still very viable. We were humming along nicely, then COVID happens, and everything got put on hold. And what this project is, it's peeling off a portion, a piece of what's in that growth design plan, and tackling it now. It's a smaller piece than we had initially anticipated doing. But thank you, COVID. We're just happy to get that going, and all of you are here, and churches attendance is back up, and all those things. So this really is a piece of what was defined in the growth design plan. There's a lot more to be done over the years, some of which is the equipment sustainment, as Brian mentioned, as well as some other enhancements to the facility and things like that. But that's for future.
One of the big ones was the bathrooms.
Yes, that was a big piece of the growth design was expanding the restroom facilities.
It seemed like they had something new in every single room.
Yeah.
Because people voice their opinions on everything.
Right. We had a lot of great input as we were going through that process. So all of that is still relevant. It has not been it's not been thrown away. It's been set aside a little bit, thank you, COVID, but now we're getting back on track. So that's the exciting piece. Jennifer.
I'd like to see some, What's the amount in the capital improvement fund? It's over
The
100,000.
current balance is a bit over 100, I don't remember the exact number.
113
113?
and some change.
I'd like to see some of that money go towards the parking lot, because it is a capital improvement. And that would get us close to maybe 50% there.
Yeah, we got the, obviously, that would be part of the motion, and then we would also have to make sure that we abide by whatever rule structure are in the capital, but I think you helped set that up, right? So you're probably familiar with the language. I think there's a lower amount that it cannot go down to.
Yeah, actually, we were just looking at that the other day, and looking at the language, and there wouldn't be anything that's prohibited. We can't use it to expand the facility,
Right,
but we're not talking about expanding it.
correct.
Unless you want to say there's more profit on it. That could be an expansion. So, but that's a great point to bring up as we structure the motions next week. If there's a sentiment that we want to use part of the capital improvement fund for this, that's certainly an option.
You said there was how much in it though?
113?
113,000?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and some change.
I do think we have to be mindful that that money could go very quickly in any capital emergency, so.
Other questions? There is some literature up here, but I was going to hand it out. I didn't want everyone to be rifling and looking at it while Gary was talking. I wanted you to focus on Gary's slideshow.
Yeah, there's two pieces of literature up here. One is a one-page summary, and you'll find the wording that's awful familiar if you read the slides. I just cut and pasted from this. But it'll give you the summary of the different phases for you to take. And then there's a frequently asked questions page up here, which may address some other questions that have come up over the last few months that we captured here and provided some answers to. So if you're interested, just come up and grab one of each.
Terry had a question, I believe.
Terry.
Evidently, the entrance will be shifted to the other parking lot, rather than the circle?
No, the Circle Drive entrance will remain. You can certainly use that. We have to keep that one for a number of reasons. That is our mailing address. That is also our emergency address. So if I call the police, the cops, fire department, they recognize 20275 Davidson Road. So that has to remain. There was talk of reducing the footprint and actually closing this first entrance because it was so close, or reducing it, but we, against some guidance, we did not, because once we close it, we'll never get it back. And the fact that there is a fire hydrant right there, the fire department frowned upon that. So if you wish to park there still, you certainly can. So, but the goal is to allow people to use the more predominant entrance, especially on Sunday. But if you're here Monday through Friday and you're here for a meeting and you want to use the office entrance, go right ahead.
Yeah, the door's nothing's happened to the door, it's still gonna be there. We're just fixing the.
You just won't have a sign there.
Well,
It will be a business, it's not business like the other entrance.
can I ask you a question? I'm going to put you on the spot, Mr. Abner. What does that sign say that's right there when you come in that first entrance? Do you know? Both?
Entrance here, the circle,
Yeah, the little one. You know what the little one reads?
Use main entrance.
no firearms.
That's the X. You get two more. Anyways, the big signs are for the visitors and for those who are coming on a Sunday and those who are coming for after hours, because most of the time, unless you're here, you don't know to use this entrance because there's so few spots, and then the parking is overflowing anyways to that entrance. So for example, when we have after-hour groups that come, the majority of them use that other entrance over there. And that's what we want to encourage, because to somebody's point, there's better bathroom facilities there, there's wider entrance, there's better parking over there, there's better lighting over there. It's just so much more conducive to the volume that comes in and out of this building. Preschool uses that entrance, so, yeah.
For a funeral too. But that's when you get lots of strangers who don't know where they're
make that turn on Davidson Road, you only see 8 spots. So you want to pull people around the corner to show that they're much bigger than just this little circle drive and put them in the right spot. Other questions?
Yeah, you know, to that effect, as we, thought we meeting was this meeting and others, you know, there's a big issue about signage and the confusion people have about this door. I really think we have to consider putting a sign for parking with an arrow going that way and maybe this business entrance here to kind of distinguish it a little bit. I mean, I've seen that at other places where they, you know, they try to separate the two entrances.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
There's multiple approaches to that. Like I said, I've been at way too many churches to count for the past 2 months doing some research. So yes, to that point, we want to have our predominant main signs, but yes, we want to have some directional signs as well. We want to make sure it's that fine line where it gets people to their direction, but we don't turn into a hospital look and feel of this is the emergency exit or
There won't be
entrance.
any green arrows painted on it.
But yes, to your point, Jerry, and there's multiple ways to accomplish that. And I've seen it throughout many different churches, whether it's painted on the building, whether it's a sign by the door. So we got to take into a lot of factors in terms of what the space and the locations are used for. So it's certainly on that and it's part of the budget.
Terry?
What was the sign that I was supposed to see?
So when you leave the circle drive, there is a small sign that is about 3 by 4. There's 2 messages on there. One it says main entrance, and then I think it says office entrance, if I recall correctly. I don't even know. I don't look at it. But I think those are the 2 things that has an arrow. But the problem is when you turn on Davidson, you can't see it because of the way it's positioned. But now you'll know. You'll look.
There's another question.
No, I was just gonna, just thank you to you and to the whole group that worked so hard. Spent so much time and effort. This is really so beautifully done, and it's kind of exciting to think.
It's very exciting.
Changes.
And there has been a lot of people
Oh, it's
involved in
awesome.
this. And that's the other really exciting part, is the great group of people that have been supporting this. So I'll take that as a cue to get off the stage. And of course, if you have any other questions, ask Brian, ask me, ask Brittany, she's on the committee too. Let's see, what else am I missing? Jerry, we'd be happy to address your questions. Of course, you'll have more opportunity next Sunday, so come to the meeting and the picnic, which will be outdoors, under a tent.
Outdoor
The meeting will
picnic.
be inside.
Indoor meeting.
Come to the meeting, you'll have more opportunity to ask questions, provide your suggestions, and above all, assuming a permanent vote, please prayerfully consider supporting the project.